I'm gonna do some more movie plots for you. Oh, oh, I think I have about 6 of them this time. So the first one I'm gonna do is called Bohemian Rhapsody. I have 3 popular Grease films and 2 Christmas movies, which are Polar Express and It's a Wonderful Life. So let's not waste any time. We're going to start with Bohemian Rhapsody. So, the movie starts out in 1985. Queen waits backstage to perform at Live Aid. Then 15 years earlier, Farrah Balsara works as a baggage handler at Heathrow Airport and lives with his parents and sister. Later on, he goes to a pub to see the band Smile perform. Seeking them out after the show, he meets and is attracted to this girl named Mary Austin, who works at the boutique Bibba. He finds drummer Roger Taylor and guitarist Brian May, and learns that their lead singer and bassist Tim Staffel has just quit to join the band Humpy Bong. Farrah offers himself as a replacement singer and impresses them with his vocal ability. Farrah seeks out Mary at Bibba and they start dating. The band starts playing gigs across Britain with Farrah as the lead singer and their new bassist, John Deacon. Farrah pushes them to think bigger and sells their van to finance a record album. An A&R rep from EMI asks engineer Roy Thomas Baker for demos. Farrah changes his name to Freddie Mercury and renames the band Queen. They signed with John Reed, who books an American tour. Paul Prentice, who is attracted to Freddie, manages their daily schedule. An appearance on Top of the Pops gives Queen their first hit, Killer Queen. Freddie proposes to Mary but begins questioning his sexuality. In 1975, Queen record their 4th studio album, A Night at the Opera, placing extensive effort into recording Freddie's magnum opus, Bohemian Rhapsody. However, they quit EMI when executive Ray Foster refuses to release it as their album's lead single. Freddie conspires with radio DJ Kenny Everett to debut the song on his program. Despite critical pans, Bohemian Rhapsody became a global hit, launching Queen into international superstardom. Following a world tour, Freddie begins an affair with Paul and comes out to Mary as bisexual. She counters that he is gay and they call off the engagement but remain close friends. The band's success continues into the early 1980s with the songs We Will Rock You and Another One Bites the Dust. But tensions arise over Paul's influence on Freddie. At a lavish party at his home, Freddie is attracted to a waiter named Jim Hutton, who tells Freddie to find him when he learns self-acceptance. Paul encourages Reed to persuade Freddie to go solo, but when the idea offends Freddie, Paul feigns ignorance and Freddie fires Reed without consulting the band. Increasing in their strength, Jim Beat, the band's lawyer, takes over management. During a 1982 press conference about the band's album, Hot Space, the press bombards Freddie with questions about his health and sexuality. Freddie's relationship with the band further deteriorates after the campy music video for I Want to Break Free. where the band appears in drag backfires and he signs a $4 million solo deal with CBS Records, effectively breaking up the band. He records his 1984 solo album, Mr. Bad Guy, in Munich and engages in drugs and gay orgies with Paul, but starts to feel unwell. Mary, now married and pregnant, visits unexpectedly and urges him to return to Queen and participate in the benefit concert Live Aid. Realizing that Paul withheld news of Live Aid from him and has been a corrosive influence, Freddie fires him. In retaliation, Paul goes public about Freddie's sexual escape. Freddie returns to London and, with Miami's help, reconciles with the band and persuades them to play at Live Aid as a last-minute addition. Freddie also learns that he has AIDS and reveals his condition to the band, but brushes off their sympathy and requests that it be kept discreet from the public. Wishing to focus on performing and making music for however long he has left, the band embraces in solidarity. On the day of Live Aid, Freddie reconnects with Jim Hutton, Mary, and his family, and heeds his father's maxim. Good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. Freddie and the band are in top form at Live Aid, performing several hits, including Bohemian Rhapsody, Radio Gaga, and We Are the Champions, and helping to increase donations. A series of intertitles recaps that Freddie died in 1991 of AIDS-related pneumonia at age 45, and the Mercury Phoenix Trust was established by the band and Miami in 1992. It also mentions that Freddie remained friends with Mary and had a loving relationship with Hutton during the final years of his life. Yeah, this movie is just incredible. I like how it tells the story of Queen. And when I watched this, so many things came through my mind, like their manager, Jim Beach, who Freddie he stupidly decided to name Miami, mainly because of his last name, Beach. Yeah. Freddie's like, you must stop calling him that. So he names him Miami. Alright, now we're going to do Grease. The first one. In the summer of 1958, local boy Danny Zuko and vacationing Australian Sandy Olsen meet at the beach and they fall in love. When the summer comes to an end, Sandy frets that they may never meet again, but Danny tells her that their love is only the beginning. At the start of the seniors' term at Rydell High School, Danny resumes his role as leader of the T-Birds Greaser gang, consisting of Duty, Sonny, Putsy, and his best friend Kaniki. Sandy's parents remain in America and enroll Sandy at Rydell, where she meets the Greaser girl, cliche, the Pink Ladies, consisting of Frenchie, Marty, Jan, and the leader, Rizzo. Danny and Sandy recount their brief romance to their groups. Sandy recalling a romantic summer, and Danny implying a more physical experience. When Sandy finally says Danny's name, Rizzo arranges a surprise reunion at the pep rally where Sandy meets Tom, a jock, and Kaniki unveils his new car, Grease Lightning, which he plans on street racing after a restoration. Caught between his feelings and his bad boy reputation, Danny snubs Sandy in front of his gang, and she becomes upset. She should have been warned about his T-Bird side. At a Pink Lady's pajama party, Sandy falls ill from drinking, trying a cigarette, and having her ears pierced by Frenchie. Rizzo, after mocking Sandy's wholesome and chastity personality, departs for sex with Kenickie in his car. They do not use a condom as Kenickie discovers that the one he bought in the 7th grade has broken. They are disturbed by Leo, who is the leader of the rival gang, the Scorpions, and his girlfriend, Cha-Cha. After the slumber party comes to an end, Sandy realizes she still loves Danny after all. The next day, Danny apologizes to Sandy for having brushed her off the previous night, and with Coach Calhoun's help, becomes a runner and successfully wins her back for Tom. However, their friends crash their date, and Kenickie and Rizzo break up after an argument. After a disastrous beauty class leaves Frenchie with candy pink hair, she drops out of beauty school and reluctantly returns to Rydell to complete her high school education. During the school dance, broadcast live on National Bandstand and hosted by DJ Vince Fontaine, Rizzo and Kenickie spite each other by bringing Leo and Cha-Cha as their dates. In a chaotic hand jive contest, Danny and Sandy dance well, but just before the winners are announced, Sonny pulls Sandy away and Cha-Cha cuts in to win with Danny as Sandy storms off. Danny tries to make it up to Sandy by taking her to a drive-in theater, but a more direct and pushy advance causes Sandy to flee in horror. Danny was literally about to pin her down and just shower her. Rizzo fears she is pregnant after missing a period and confides in Marty, who tells Sonny that inadvertently spreads the rumor to the apparent father, Kenickie, though Rizzo denies it to him. On race day, Kenickie is struck in the head by his own car door, so Danny takes the wheel, winning the race after Leo spins out. Sandy watches from afar and rejoices for Danny's victory. Concludes he still loves him and enlists Frenchie's help in changing her attitude and looks to impress him. On the last day of school, Rizzo finds she is not pregnant after all, and she reunites with Kenickie. At a carnival, Danny and Sandy each find they have changed for each other. Danny has become a letterman, and Sandy a greaser girl. And the two depart in the Grease Lightning car, which takes flight into the sky. You know, Grease just never gets old. It's always an adventure. But how does it compare to Grease 2? Well, let's find out. It is 1961, 3 years after the events of the prior film, and the first day of school has arrived. Principal McGee and her secretary, Blanche, react as the students, including the laid-back T-Birds and their trendy bad girl counterparts, the Pink Ladies, arrive at the high school. The Pink Ladies are now led by Stephanie Zenon, who she has outgrown her relationship with her ex-boyfriend Johnny Nagrelli. The arrogant and rather immature bully leader of the motorcycle riding T-Birds. A new arrival comes in the form of a clean-cut British student, Michael Carrington, who is actually a cousin of Sandy Olsen. He is introduced to the school atmosphere by the former Pink Lady, Frenchie, who agreed to help show Michael around. Frenchie has returned to Rydell to obtain her diploma so she can start her own cosmetic company, as preluded from beauty school dropout in the previous film. Michael eventually meets Stephanie and quickly becomes smitten with her. At a local bowling alley, a game turns sour from the immensity between Johnny and Stephanie. Stephanie retaliates by kissing the next man who walks in the door, who happens to be Michael. Bemused by this unexpected kiss, Michael falls in love with Stephanie, and he asks her out, but learns she has a very specific version of her ideal man that corresponds to her song Cool Rider. After realizing how he can win her affection, Michael gets to work on acquiring a motorcycle. Michael begins to covertly accept payments from the T-Birds to write their term papers and uses the cash to buy a motorcycle. Substitute teacher Mr. Stewart leads a rousing biology lesson that quickly turns into the song Reproduction. A rival gang called the Cycle Lords, including members of the defunct Scorpions, led by a Leo Balmuto, is the same guy from the previous film. He surprises the T-Birds at the bowling alley before a fight ensues. A lone, mysterious Cool Rider biker appears, which is actually Michael in disguise. He defeats the enemy gang and disappears into the night. That was happening when they were doing their song Who's That Guy? Stephanie is fascinated with this stranger. Meanwhile, T-Bird Lewitt attempts to trick his sweetheart Pink Lady Sharon into losing her virginity to him by taking her to a fallout shelter and faking a nuclear attack. The next evening, while working at a gas station / auto garage, Stephanie is surprised again by the Cool Rider, and they enjoy a romantic Twilight motorcycle ride, which includes a kiss. Just as Michael is about to reveal his identity, they are interrupted by the arrival of the T-Birds and the Pink Ladies. Before Michael departs, he tells Stephanie that he will see her at the school talent show. Johnny, enraged by Stephanie's new roommate, and threatens to fight the Cool Rider if he sees him with her again. The Pink Ladies walk away hotly, but this has little effect on the T-Bird's self-confidence. At school, Stephanie's poor grades in English lead her to accept Michael's offer to help. Johnny, upon seeing them together in a discussion, demands that Stephanie quit the Pink Ladies to preserve his honor. Although still enchanted by the mysterious Cool Rider, interactions with Michael will reveal that she has become romantically interested in him now. As well, Michael ponders over the continuing charade he is putting on for Stephanie. At the talent show, Stephanie and the Cool Rider meet up but are abruptly ambushed by the T-Birds, who pursue Michael on their respective motorcycles, with Stephanie, Sharon, and Paulette and Rhonda following in a car. They chase him to a construction site which conceals a deadly drop, and the bikers and suggest that he has gone over the edge and perished, leaving Stephanie heartbroken and inconsolable. Johnny and his T-Bird remove the competing preppy boys by tying them to a shower pole in the boys' locker room and drenching them. During the Pink Ladies' performance in the town show, Stephanie enters a dreamlike fantasy world where she is reunited with her mystery biker. She is named winner of the contest and crowned the queen. Of the upcoming graduation luau. Likewise, Johnny is hailed as king for his performance of Prowlin, and along with his fellow T-Birds. The school year ends with the luau, during which the Cycle Lords appear and begin to disrupt the celebration. The Cool Rider then reappears, defeats the Cycle Lords again, and reveals his true identity as Michael. Initially shocked, Johnny gives him a T-Bird's jacket, officially welcoming him into the gang, and Stephanie is delighted that she can now be with him. Michael and Stephanie share a passionate kiss, and he whispers that he loves her. All the couples pair off happily as the graduating class sings "We'll Be Together," and the credits start rolling in yearbook style, as in the original film. Yeah, yeah, it is. It is an amazing one to watch. So, for the Grease Live, there really isn't a plot, but it does tell a good amount of what happens in the OG. Features a good amount of people that I'm pretty familiar with. It's got Aaron Tveit as Danny, Julianne Hough as Sandy, Vanessa Hudgens as Rizzo, Carly Rae Jepsen as Frenchie, Kate O'Donoghue as Jan, Kiki Palmer as Marty, Carlos Pinavega as Nicky. There's definitely a lot of amazing things and they made it at one of the studios out there in Los Angeles. I think they did it at Paramount Studios. And there was always some good music going on. Like Joe Jonas is old band DNCE. He made their appearance as Johnny Casino and the Gamblers during the Rydell High dance. They performed the song "Maybe Baby" that was originally done by the Crickets. They did a slow dance version of their song "Cake by the Ocean," and they did "Born the Hand Jive." And of course, rock and roll is here to stay. Oh, I was wrong. They did it at Warner Brothers Studios. All right. All right. Now we're gonna do Polar Express. On the night of Christmas Eve, a passenger train known as the Polar Express stops on the street outside a boy's house. The boy has been growing skeptical about Santa Claus's existence. The conductor says the train is traveling to the North Pole. The boy, although reluctant at first, climbs aboard and meets a spirited girl and a know-it-all boy. The train then stops to pick up a boy named Billy, who also initially refuses to board, but he changes his mind as the train moves away. Much to the conductor's annoyance, the boy applies the emergency brake and Billy is allowed on board. But he decides to sit alone in the observation car. A platoon of dancing waiters then show up and serve the children hot chocolate, with the girl saving a cup for Billy. When the conductor and the girl go to give Billy his cup, the boy notices that the girl's ticket hadn't been punched, and he tries to return it to her. In doing so, the wind blows away the ticket out into the wilderness, but it soon makes its way back to the train. And after the girl discovers that her ticket is missing, the conductor leaves with her. Assuming that she might get thrown off the train, the boy finds the ticket and traverses the rooftops to find the girl. He encounters a mysterious ghostly hobo that helps him reach the engine. The boy discovers the girl has been put in charge of the train, while the engineer and the fireman are replacing the engine's headlight. The boy applies the train brakes before a herd of caribou blocks the train. As the train continues its journey with the conductor, the boy and the girl, exposed to the elements standing on the front of the train, it travels at an extremely fast speed because the throttle's handle's cotter pin came loose and fell off. So they have to face a frightening roller coaster ride while the engineer tries to catch the pin. Then they reach a frozen lake, and the cotter pin is replaced, and the train engineer narrowly gets the train back onto the tracks just before the ice breaks. The conductor takes the boy and girl all back to their seats, and they join Billy in the observation car. And the train finally arrives at the North Pole, where the conductor announces that one of the children will be chosen to receive the first gift of Christmas from Santa himself. While the girl and the boy attempt to convince Billy to join them, the boy accidentally uncouples the car, causing it to roll away and speed downhill along a track into a tunnel towards a railway turntable inside Santa's workshop. The children make their way through an elf command center and a gift sorting office facility, where Billy finds a present in his name, and they are dumped into a giant sack of presents, where they also find the know-it-all kid. After the sack is loaded onto Santa's sleigh, the elves escort them out before Santa and his reindeer arrive. A bell flies loose from the galloping reindeer's reins, and the boy initially cannot hear it ring until he finds it within himself to believe. And he tells it that he believes in Santa. Therefore, he can finally hear the bell ring. He returns the bell to Santa, who selects him to receive the first gift of Christmas. Santa agrees to let him keep the bells as his gift. As the children board the train to go back home, the boy discovers that he lost his bell through a hole that was in his pocket. The boy arrives home, and the conductor wishes him a Merry Christmas. He wakes up on Christmas morning to find a present containing his lost bell with a note from Santa. He and his younger sister Sarah joyfully ring the bell, but their parents do not hear it because they do not believe in Santa. The boy reflects on his friends and sister eventually being unable to hear the bell over the years as their belief faded. However, although he is not much older, the bell still rings for him, as it does for all who truly believe. Yeah, Christmas is a good time to watch this movie. But if you want a really good Christmas movie, you gotta go with the classics, such as It's a Wonderful Life. On Christmas Eve, 1945, in Bedford Hills, New York, George Bailey contemplates suicide. The prayers of his family and friends reach heaven, where guardian angel second class Clarence Oddbody is assigned to save George in order to earn his wings. Clarence is shown flashbacks of George's life. He watches 12-year-old George rescue his younger brother Harry from drowning, leaving George deaf in his left ear. George later saves the pharmacist, Mr. Gower, from accidentally poisoning a customer. In 1928, George plans a world grand tour before college. He is reintroduced to Mary Hatch, who has loved him since childhood. When his father dies from a sudden stroke, George postpones his travel to settle the family business. The Bailey brothers building and loan. Everest's band member Henry Potter, who owns the bank and most of the town, seeks to dissolve the company, but the board of directors votes to keep it open on condition that George runs it. George acquaintances and works alongside his uncle Billy, giving his tuition and savings to his younger brother Harry, with the understanding that Harry will take over when he graduates. However, Harry returns to college married and with a job offer from his father-in-law, and George resigns himself to running the building and loan. George and Mary rekindle their relationship and they marry, and use their honeymoon savings to keep the company solvent and during a run on the bank. Under George, the company established Bailey Park, a housing development and surpassing Potter's overpriced slums. Potter entices George with a high-paying job, but George rebuffs him when he realizes that Potter's true intention is to close the building and loan. On Christmas Eve, the town prepares a hero welcome for Harry, a Navy fighter pilot awarded the Medal of Honor for preventing a kamikaze attack on a troop ship. Billy goes to Potter's bank to deposit $8,000 of the building and loans money. He taunts Potter with a newspaper headline about Harry. Then, absentmindedly, he wraps the cash in Potter's newspaper. Potter finds and keeps the money, while Billy cannot recall how he misplaced it. With a bank examiner reviewing the company's records, George furiously retraces Billy's steps. Frustrated and angered by Billy's blunder, which may lead to scandal and jail, George resents the sacrifices he has made and the family that has kept him trapped in Bedford Falls. He appeals to Potter for a loan, offering his meager life insurance policy as collateral. Potter scoffs that George is worth more dead than alive. He refuses to help and phones the police. George flees Potter's office, gets drunk at a bar, and prays for help. Contemplating suicide, he goes to a nearby bridge. Before George can jump, Clarence dives into the freezing river and George rescues him. When George wishes he had never been born, Clarence shows George a timeline in which he never existed. Bedford Falls is now Pottersville, an unsavory town occupied by sleazy entertainment venues and salacious people. Mr. Gower was jailed for manslaughter because George was not there to stop him from poisoning the customer. George's mother does not know him. Uncle Billy was institutionalized after the building and loan failed. Bailey Park is a cemetery where George discovers Harry's grave. Without George, Harry has drowned as a child, and without Harry to save them, the troops aboard the transport ship were killed. George finds that Mary is an old maid librarian. When he grabs her and claims to be her husband, she screams and runs away. George then flees back to the bridge and begs for his life back. His wish granted. He rushes home to await his arrest. Meanwhile, Mary and Billy have railed the townspeople who donate more than enough to replace the missing money. Harry arrives and tells George, as the richest man in town. Among the donations, George finds a copy of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, a gift from Clarence inscribed. Remember, no man is a failure who has friends. Thanks for the wings. When a bell on the Christmas tree rings, George's youngest daughter, Zuzu, explains that every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. While the people are singing Auld Lang Syne. Yeah, this is no joke. Oh, It's a Wonderful Life is, I think, one of the most classic Christmas films to ever exist. Never gets old. Okay, hey, I hope you enjoyed this.